Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to another Opposition View show. We're looking ahead to our game at Goodison against Sheffield United. And to discuss the Blades, we've got Ben Meakin on the show, who's kindly joined us from Blades Pod. He's going to give us an insight into how things have been going so far for Sheffield United on their return to the Premier League. So, without further ado, we're going to start with the obvious question, Ben. How do you think the Blades have settled back into Premier League life so far?
Pretty good, I think. A very annoying result on Saturday, which is probably it was probably one of our better performances of the season, and unfortunately, some really poor finishing from us. Just basically let Southampton kind of get away with all 3 points, I guess. But yeah, overall, I think most of us are quite encouraged by what we've seen. I mean, I don't think we've been. We've certainly not been hammered in any of our games, and to be honest, I mean, all right, we haven't played like I suppose last season's champions or anything like that yet. We've looked like we can compete with all these teams, which is pretty encouraging, I think. There's not been anyone that, or indeed any real spell where we've sort of gone, oh wow, these guys are so much better than anything that we've kind of come up against for a long time. So yeah, I mean, even going to Stamford Bridge, and all right, Chelsea might not be the sort of force they were a couple of years ago, but probably still going to be a top 6 team even with that. We basically ran rings around them for the second half. So yeah, to go there having been 2-0 down and come back and get a deserved point is very promising, I think, and everyone's pretty optimistic about what the season might hold for us.
Well, I have been pretty impressed from what I've seen of you guys. I saw you play against Bournemouth on the opening day, and then, of course, you won the next game. So it has been a pretty good start. You were really impressive, like you say, against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. But do you think the Blades are settling in a lot better than you thought, or?
I think it's probably about where I expected, really. I mean, I didn't. I kind of semi-optimistically predicted that we'd stay up, and I do still stick with that. I haven't seen anything to change my mind the other way. I mean, one of the sort of the bedrocks of our promotion, if you like, was our defence. We just basically for the last couple of seasons, we don't give away many chances at all. And, if you can just keep opposition to zeros and ones, we're always going to create a couple of chances ourselves. So, yeah, I just fancied that that would kind of carry on, I guess. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's been like a brutal start to the season in terms of the fixture list. I think you could make a case it's not easy either. I mean, Leicester look very good. Palace have gone and won at Man United. I think it was only Palace's second defeat of the season the other day. They've gone and won at Man United, obviously. And then Chelsea away as well. Southampton, a pretty decent team. So, yeah, I think it's basically we're on track with where I expected us to be. But at the same time, I think we can play a lot better as well. We've certainly a lot of our games we've kind of taken the first half off a little bit, which has been quite frustrating. I know we can play better based on what I saw last season. So yeah, to have this many points on the board already, despite not having played all that well, is pretty good, I think.
I suppose it is, but you were saying your success has been based on your defence. So plenty of players have traded places between our clubs over the years. Of course, most recently, Phil Jagielka came back to Bramall Lane. What's your thoughts on Jags coming home, and how can he help the strength of your defence?
I love Jags. He was like my favourite player when I was about sort of 15, 16. So yeah, following him from from our youth team to he helped get us promoted to the Premier League, played for us in the Premier League. Then obviously has gone on to Everton, played at the World Cup. That kind of thing has been quite gratifying as a fan, I think. So yeah, it was nice to see him come back. I mean, I don't expect him to get on the pitch all that much, to be honest. I mean, what is he now? I think he's 37 either now or is about to turn 37. I think it's one of those where, I guess his contract had run out at Everton. It's sort of makes sense to bring him back in a way as a kind of a squad player, I suppose. And sentimentally, it's quite nice to have him around. But I expect most of his sort of value will be behind the scenes, I guess.
Just fancy him to take up maybe a coaching role with the club after maybe he retires?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't have any evidence either way on that. I think it's just we don't have very few of our squad have played in the Premier League before. I think there's only sort of 2 or 3 players that have. So and typically when people talk about it's for a promoter club anyway, it's important to have people with Premier League experience, but unfortunately, most of the people with Premier League experience, it's bad experience. It's getting relegated from the Premier League. Is that actually what you want? Whereas, Jagielka, as I said, he's played in Merseyside derbies, he's played in FA Cup finals, he's played the World Cup final. So that is good big game experience to have in the squad, I think.
I'll stop you there. Jags didn't play in the FA Cup final for us.
Did he not?
I think if he did, we would have won it.
Well, I know he scored the decisive penalty in the semi-final, didn't he?
And then he ruptures his cruciate ligament before the final.
No, I didn't know that.
It was a travesty, to be honest, mate. I think if he'd have played, he'd have won the cup.
Bugger.
It's a shame, really was. On to Everton now, and we were very poor against Bournemouth last weekend, having played well the previous game against Wolves. What have you made of Everton's start to the season?
So I've seen quite a bit of Everton, actually, because I watched them away at Villa, which is very frustrating because I obviously really wanted you to win that game because Villa are probably more likely to be in the same region of the table at the end of the season than we are. Than Everton are. Also against Lincoln in the Cup, I watched that game and I watched most of Wolves as well. But I don't know, it almost seems you have a lot of very good attacking players, particularly, with Iwobi coming in now, but Richarlison and Sigurdsson are great. Digne as well is probably, I don't know, maybe the second best left back in the league, but certainly, great attacking player. But I don't know, it seems, certainly away from home, it seems to lack a bit of cohesion, I think. I mean, that is essentially what United are all about at the minute is this, the strength is the system almost rather than individuals. It's everybody knowing where they're supposed to be when, we have this quite elaborate positional rotation as part of our team where you end up with the sort of, the left wing back up front, the striker on the halfway line, this kind of thing. And, so our strength comes from knowing those sort of on-field relationships. But the impression I get with Everton is that that's not quite in place yet, which kind of makes sense. You brought in quite a lot of new players in the last season or two. So it's going to take time to kind of form those relationships. But I mean, the level of ability that some of those, particularly the attacking players have, I mean, you could feasibly blow away any team on any given day, I think.
I think that's the issue. I think a lot of people are saying that we're not fulfilling our potential. And with particularly the defence, like you say, I think the issue on Sunday was not just a case, I don't think, of lack of cohesion. I think at times we were quite lazy, I thought. We took Bournemouth for granted.
Yeah.
Which I'm thinking going into a game against a newly promoted side at home, I'm a bit fearful that we could do that again.
Everton's home form is pretty ridiculous in this year, though, isn't it?
No, it has been very, very good, but I'm just thinking a lot of those games have been against top six sides, Wolves who finished around us last season.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, are we going to go into a game against a newly promoted side with a bit of complacency, similar to what we maybe did against Bournemouth on Sunday?
Well, hopefully from my side.
Obviously, it'll be quite encouraging for you guys. So, what would be a possible lineup maybe for you guys this weekend? Who will play?
So there's some. I still don't feel like we've settled on a proper kind of strike force yet. We have quite a variety of options. It's an area we really invested in the summer. One player who won't be playing is Billy Sharks. Unfortunately, got sent off at the weekend, which is a shame because I thought this might be a game to put him in for actually. But
it's a shame for my fantasy team as well.
Yeah. There's a bit of debate over David McGoldrick, who is one of these. Is a hard player to define. He is nominally a striker, but he can drop into midfield and is such a brilliant footballer and kind of links everything together for us. But as we've seen over the last season and a bit, he's just not a good finisher at all. He's missed a lot of really good chances this season. So there is a debate about, is he still worth keeping in the side, even if you accept that he's going to miss some chances? Because are we going to get as many chances if he's not there? Because he kind of links it all together. So I think he will still start up front, probably with Ollie McBurney, who was really impressive for Swansea last season and has done pretty well so far. He's got one goal, but I think we want to see a little bit more from him. The rest of the team pretty much picks itself, to be honest. Our back three with our overlapping centre backs is always going to be the same, barring injury or suspension. Two wing backs, Stevens and Baldock, will definitely play. And then, Norwood's a good one to watch out for in midfield. He plays this sort of kind of deep-lying playmaker role and is just brilliant at basically passing the ball over a very long distance. So, yeah, that's pretty much how we'll line up, I guess.
But it's interesting. I've noticed a lot more sides have started to use this three at the back and with the overlapping centre backs. It seems to become quite a phenomenon of recent times. But the player who I was going to ask you, who are your danger men? Who would you say is your danger man? Who should Everton keep an eye on?
I guess it probably is McGoldrick to an extent, assuming he plays. If he plays well, then I think we play well. As I say, he's the striker, but he drops into midfield because we obviously have the three in midfield, so he can drop into there. He's very good at holding the ball up. He's got great touch, great skill, great vision. So yeah, if he's having an active game and is highly involved, then he's probably our most dangerous player. But we're not a team of great individuals. We weren't last season. It's all about the strength of how everything kind of fits together. I mean, yeah, there's quite a few kind of replaceable, swappable players, I guess, in our team because we don't have this sort of. Yeah, we don't have a Richarlison type player, if you like, who, you just instantly go like, wow, watch out every time that guy's on the ball. So, yeah, it's always hard to pick a single player that I would say is dangerous, to be honest.
Is that a positive or a negative, having players of similar levels of ability? Does it make it harder for Chris Wilder to pick his team, or equally does it make the competition for places a lot stronger?
I think that it makes the competition a lot stronger. Wilder's he's always been very much about you have to earn the shirt because, and I think he's done this with like squad building as well. So 2 players for every position. I mean, there are a few positions where we don't have that because the way we play requires quite a unique skill set in certain positions. I mean, I mentioned sort of right centre back. We still haven't found a kind of a proper backup for Chris Basham because he used to play as a midfielder. He started his career as a midfielder and is expected to basically dribble forward from centre back with the ball or get outside the wing back and get into the opponent's box, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, I think it has, having good squad depth and competition for places. I think that has kind of enable everyone to kind of push their performance levels to their absolute limit. I mean, most of our squad is, as I say, it's not played in the Premier League before. A lot of it was playing for us in League One 3 or 4 seasons ago as well. So yeah, it's as we're kind of consistently seeing, it's all about taking these players and getting them to play at a level they've never played before.
Certainly, I think I was speaking about danger men and you spoke about David McGoldrick, but I saw one player who really caught my eye in the Crystal Palace game, and that was Ender Stevens. I thought he was really impressive.
He's been great. That probably wasn't even his best game, actually. So Ender we signed on a free transfer from Portsmouth a couple of years ago. He was a left back, then we converted him into a left wing back. He does probably more attacking than defending in our system. Our wing backs are essentially wide midfielders. And spend more time in the opposition half than in our own in games where we're able to exert ourselves anyway.
Well, from what I saw Ender Stevens getting into the opposition box a lot more than in his own box.
Exactly what he does. Yeah, he's great. He had quite a slow. I would say his first season with us was not amazing. He was good, but not great in the Championship. Last season, just I don't think I've seen a player improved that much in a shorter space of time. He just, he's always been quite creative in terms of creating chances, but last season that just went through the roof. The assists, the goals he was getting as well. He was getting into the box a lot more, and we've already seen it this season. There's some real highlight reel moments where he's kind of dribbling past players and pulling off these ridiculous bits of skill
That's what I recall in that Palace game. I remember him little 1-2s, little tricks. It was very impressive.
No, it's great. If we can get him involved a lot as well, then we should have some joy. I mean, I think probably the best right back we've come up against this season is Pereira for Leicester, and that was probably Stevens' weakest game. But second half against Chelsea, he just destroyed Azpilicueta and Zuma in that team. Both out wide left and getting into that sort of inside left channel. So yeah, definitely one to watch for.
I think for sure if you can get him into the game on Saturday, I think he's in for another enjoyable game because Seamus Coleman's been horrific for us on the right-hand side recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that could be a strong point. So speaking about danger men, I think Ender Stevens could be the man to do the business for you if you can get him into the game, really.
Yeah, hopefully. He's a good player to watch, He's not like, he's not the sort of guy that's going to be constantly sort of doing step overs or anything like that. It's just really in control of everything he does. He knows when to dribble forward, when to, kind of make a move off the ball. So yeah, he's an exciting player to watch.
He's a very functional player, isn't he?
Yeah, I'd say so. It's just, I mean, it's another of these things where I think he's 29 now. So he has played in the Premier League, or at least been involved in. He was at Aston Villa about 7 or 8 years ago, and then he's kind of gone all the way down to League Two, and then back up with various clubs. So yeah, it's just one of these players that absolutely, knows his game to perfection. He's kind of understood what his weaknesses are, and he's playing in a system that gets the absolute most out of what he can do.
Of course, you're a newly promoted team. Many of those sides have gone straight back down. Others thrive, like Wolves did last year. For you, what's Sheffield United's ambition for the season?
It is just stay up. I mean, Wolves are a complete outlier with the access to players that they have through Jorge Mendes and the Portuguese. I mean, Ruben Neves was playing in the Championship for Wolves. I mean, come on. He was a Champions League player, and he still is a Champions League player. He should be playing for a top 6 club. So, yeah, that was a bit of a fluke in terms of the way their circumstances came together. Ambition is stay up, and then we'll just go from there. I mean, look, as I said, we were in League One 3 years ago, and we were in League One for 6 years. So a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff at United is still, I think we're ahead of where we should be in some respects in terms of infrastructure, scouting and all that. The longer we can spend in the Premier League, the better setup we're going to be. It's similar. Norwich have taken a pretty similar approach. They've not pushed the boat out ridiculously this season. It's almost like they're saying, if we go down, then at least we're well prepared to come back up, and we get the windfall of parachute payments. And I think we've kind of trod that same line. We have spent a bit more than Norwich, obviously, but it's not been. We've not broke the bank. We're not hamstringing ourselves for the future. So yeah, ambition is definitely stay up, but I think the goal was don't ruin the club if the worst case scenario happens. Be in a situation where you'll probably be favourites to come back up next season from the Championship if you do get relegated.
It's a good way of looking at it, and from what I've seen, it seems to be a more effective way of looking at it. If you see what Fulham did last season, it's the complete opposite, and they're struggling quite a bit now.
Yeah, and as I said, not to harp on too much, but to come back to the sort of system and the way we play, it does take players a while to get used to it. And so, if we just, we did start, I think we signed 8 or 9 players in the summer. If we chuck 7 of them into the starting lineup, I think it'd be an absolute mess, and we'd lose what's kind of got us where we are. So actually, our new signings, most of them have been integrated quite slowly. I mean, there's only McBurney and Callum Robinson, who scored at Chelsea, who've really been heavily involved. Luke Freeman as well, to an extent, although he was left out of the team on Saturday. So yeah, we're sort of gradually integrating, I suppose, which is why I'm pretty happy with our start, because I think we will just get better as the season goes, and hopefully just be able to, win the sort of 10, 12 games you need to do to stay up.
I think you might be quite good value for that at the moment, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, the only thing that does concern me, and it did concern me coming into the season, there doesn't seem to be an obvious Huddersfield, Fulham, Cardiff this season. I feel like the bottom of the league is going to be better. I think all 3 promoted teams are better than the ones I just named there.
Definitely, from what I've seen so far.
And I mean, apart from maybe Newcastle, there's no sort of obvious car crash team. I mean, I know Watford haven't won a game yet, but if you look at Watford's underlying numbers, they've been absolutely hammering some teams. They just can't finish. I mean, they properly battered Arsenal at the weekend, and so I think they won't be down near the bottom at all. I don't think so. Yeah, by process of elimination, you could see United and maybe Norwich, a team like that, who were actually ostensibly good Premier League teams, but they're just essentially cut adrift because they're not quite as good as the other 17.
Yeah, it's going to be a much tighter league this season than we had last season. I'm pretty sure of that. Speaking of the league, where do you think Everton will finish?
It's really tough because of that, as you said. I mean, I tipped, for example, Leicester to finish in the top 6 this season, because I just see such a huge drop-off from Man City and Liverpool to the rest of the league. I don't think there's an outstanding I mean, look at Chelsea are in transition. Man United are a bit of a mess, to be honest. Arsenal, I mean, I don't think Emery will be there much longer. So there is a big opportunity. Spurs had a slow start to the season. They kind of figured it out now, and I think they're probably best placed to finish 3rd for sure. So yeah, I have Everton in that kind of bunch of teams with Leicester, I guess, and Wolves as well. I suppose if they hadn't focused so much on the Europa League, who, I think feasibly could target top six, because I honestly think that one of those teams I mentioned, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United, they're going to drop out of the top six this season. I think the league's just going to be so close, and there is an opportunity for someone to be consistent and push into the top six. So yeah, I think Everton will be in that kind of 6th to 8th, 9th kind of range, I reckon.
It will probably turn out that way, but like you say, consistency is key, and that's our biggest issue at the moment. As far as Sheffield United are concerned, where do you reckon you guys will finish?
I still think I said 16th at the start of the season, and I'll stick with that. I don't want to say 17th. That sounds like I don't know.
Typical newly promoted team.
Exactly.
Cliche,
yeah.
that, isn't it?
Try and break them all. 16th and safe with a game to spare. That was my prediction before the start of the season. I'm sticking with it. Like I say, I've not seen anything through the first 5 games that's made me change my mind on that. So yeah, I'm optimistic.
Fair play. About the game coming up this weekend, are you optimistic there? What's your prediction for the game?
I mean, but yeah, being realistic, we probably will lose, I suppose. We'll certainly be underdogs in it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to Goodison for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've not. We haven't played you. Certainly haven't played you in the league for 12 or 13 years now. So I wasn't able to go last time we were in the Premier League. We had a cup game about 5 or 6 years ago, I think, in the League Cup. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I've always kind of liked Everton, to be honest, and Goodison looks and sounds like a proper ground, basically. So
similar to Bramall Lane, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, exactly that. So I'm looking forward to the day, and then we'll see what happens on the pitch, I suppose. I mean, we've been, as I say, we've been to Chelsea, we've been to Bournemouth, who were a good Premier League team. They're going to finish pretty solidly mid-table, and given a good account of ourselves, could have won either game and managed to draw them both. So yeah, I think as long as we play our game, we should be a good match for pretty much any team, I think. So I'm going into it with low expectations, but just looking forward to hopefully a good atmosphere and hopefully a goal for us as well.
If you're going to give us a score?
I do think Everton will win, so I'll go 2-1 Everton.
I was going to say 1-0 Everton.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, there's only one game we haven't scored in so far this season, and that was Saturday, and it was probably our best attacking performance. We just couldn't finish the very many chances that came our way. So, yeah, we tend to keep it tight at the back and still create a few good chances ourselves. So, I'm optimistic that we'll get a goal at least.
Yeah, I think whatever happens, it's going to be a tight game, isn't it?
In theory, I mean, this is what I always think with Everton. Like I say, they're one of them teams that I could just see them scoring like 3 goals in 10 minutes with, Richarlison just goes on an absolute tear, or, someone just smashes one in from 20 yards. I mean, that's what I quite like watching Everton, to be honest.
I think that's the thing with Everton. We can do that, but equally we can see 3 in 10 minutes. That's kind of the way we've been.
Yeah. So this is one of those I kind of earmark as like, this may be the first time we get a thrashing this season, just if Everton are like completely on it, and you have players that can produce. You've got loads of players that can produce those moments of magic that however well we've defended and however well we've played, it just sort of just kills us, I guess. So yeah, we'll see. Hopefully not this weekend. I don't really want to go to Goodison and get a total thrashing, but yeah, let's see.
May the best team win. That's all I can say.
Yeah, absolutely.
And finally, just one last little question. We have a little laugh on this show. What's your favourite film and why?
Oh, good question. For some reason, I've always liked True Romance, the Tarantino written Christian Slater film. And yeah, I watched it recently, and it's still probably my favorite film. But it's just like so over the top, borderline stupid, about 20 genres in one, and it's got one of the all-time great acting performances from Christian Slater. So yeah, and Brad Pitt actually top cameo in that as the stoner guy. So yeah, I'll go with that.
Good shout, not bad at all. So thanks for joining us, of course. Thank you to Ben Meakin for coming on this show. And there you have it. Everton versus Sheffield United coming up on Saturday. Be sure to stay tuned in, of course. We've got plenty of great content coming up ahead of that game and sort of after the game as well. So be sure to like, comment and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching on the Toffee Blues.
Real